Well, we got Real Women Revealed here at Club Central, downtown Phoenix. The owner, Will, was so gracious to let Real Women Reveal host their sexy shoe soiree here. So we'll be having interviews with the ladies on all different types of women issues, girlfriend, sisterhood, breadwinner wives, dating in the 2012, and the cougar, and much more. So stay tuned, okay? Bye-bye. All right, I'm ready for my very first and special interview. What is your name, your age, and your occupation and marital status?
My name is Chanel Poe. I am 31 years old. My marital status is single.
And what's your occupation?
My occupation, I am in community work. I am the membership director for the Greater Phoenix Black Chamber of Commerce.
All right, okay. So we're going to speak to you on single ladies. And you're single, right?
Correct.
Okay. What is the best part about being single?
Getting to know yourself. I kid you not. This has been absolutely amazing for me to work on some self-development and basically take a look at myself and see what areas do I need work in. As a teenager, as a young girl, I used to believe that being with a mate is what completes you. When I became a woman, I realized that you have to come full circle yourself. You have to come 100% to a relationship.
So that's the best part about being single.
The best part about being single is getting to know yourself and truly preparing yourself. Not only getting to know yourself, but preparing yourself for your mate. It's nothing like having the love that you know that you deserve. And once you have embodied that, this is how you will perpetuate it through your relationship that you get ready to enter.
Okay, awesome. All right. So what is one of the biggest misconceptions about being single?
I'm so glad you answered that. What's the biggest misconception about single women? I am so glad that you answered that. I took some time and did some soul searching on my past vacation, and let me tell you what I found out. What I found out is that for some reason society has a stigma on single women, being that you have not accomplished this certain epic standard in life, that you may not fit into society, or you're everyone, or be like everyone else. Sometimes people may look at you like, well, what's wrong with you? You know, you're single. Because I'm single. And they're like, something has to be wrong. And I'm like, no, something has to be right. Let me tell you, I got it. I'm not a little girl anymore. When I became a woman, okay, I realized that you do not need a person to validate you. You can be with someone that you want to be with, someone who makes you happy, and that's okay. It's a little bit far few and in between once you get older. When you're a child and you're going to school, you're seeing hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis, and you guys are interacting with one another. But when you're in the working class and you're fulfilling your goals and dreams through your career, it's not going to always be those people that you connect with. And since I'm a woman now, I know what I like. So that's a difference between me putting up with something or settling for something if it's not what I really want. Let me be honest with you. Can I be honest with you, real women? Can I be revealed real quick? I'm about to take it off. I'm just about to put it all out there. Let me be honest. I want to do it right. I just want to have that connection. I want to be at my best with someone. I don't want to be with someone just to say, look, this is someone on my shoulder. And let's get back to corporate America. I don't want anybody that just look good. Well, you know what I realized? I realized that it's not all about looks. I realized it's about your heart. And what is it that draws me to you? Do we understand each other? What is our communication level like? You know, this day and age, you have people who are text messaging and emailing. And I believe that that's great once you get to a certain level of your relationship. But it's all about constantly wanting to get to know one another and wanting to be kind to that person. I'm ready to, treat somebody like the king they deserve to be treated. However, I will not do that and spread myself with just anyone. I think I have to have that chemistry to pursue something. Thank you.
Awesome. Got a couple more for you. So since we asked what was the best part of being single, as singles ladies, what's the worst part about being single?
So I live in this great state, Arizona. Absolutely beautiful. People here are flourishing, they're positive, they're completing their career goals, and it's like you want someone to share it with. You have these triumphs in your life and these victories, and you're just checking things off your list, and it would really be nice to have someone to share that with, someone who loves you for you. You're not just a title to them. You're not just, you know, that's the person that we see in the community, where you're truly loved, valued, and you can actually love someone back genuinely, fully, and completely.
All right. One last question. So what advice would you give to other single ladies? Advice would you give to other? No.
The first thing that the piece of advice that I could give to some of my other single sisters is get a relationship with God. I think it's really, really important to understand who you are. Once you understand who you are, you'll know how you like to be treated. You'll know what someone gestures people can do to make you happy. And you know that, and you're able to communicate that to your mate. I would definitely say, take your time to fulfill some of your goals, but sometimes loves come, and I can't really put a date on it, and I really can't say you should know someone for 4 months, because sometimes it's that chemistry that we've been missing, or we may connect with that certain person. So I would really say, truly treat yourself very well, grow your relationship with God, learn what you like, know what type of person that you would like in a mate, and you'll be able to recognize it should it come around. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you, Chanel. We'll be back to give you some more Real Women Reveal. We're keeping it raw up in Club Central, okay? All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Thanks, Chanel. Hi, Audrey. I'm back. Can we cut that? Actually, maybe we should. Okay. Okay, we're back with our next interview from Bettina. So we're going to get your name, your age, your occupation, and your marital status.
My name is Bettina Vance Johnson. My age is 43. Yeah, I'm 40 and fabulous. And my occupation is a business owner, and I'm also developing a nonprofit. And my marital status is divorced.
Okay, all right. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. So how long were you married, Bettina?
I was married almost 16 years. Yes, but I was with my ex-husband for almost 20.
What age did you get married?
I got married at 23. Okay. At about 23, maybe a little bit younger than that. I can't remember. I lost track.
Okay.
Yes.
How long have you been divorced?
I've been divorced only 2 years. Okay. Yes. So I'm fairly new. Yes.
Okay. So, with being divorced for only 2 years, what has been the hardest part for you from transitioning from being divorced being married for so long to now only being divorced 2 years? What's the hardest part about transitioning back to, being single again without a partner? You were with a partner for so many years.
Right. Narrowing it down to the hardest part, I think, is difficult. I think the biggest struggle I've had has been going from having a companion to being single. I don't want to say alone, but I would say just being single. Having that special person to share your innermost feelings with, your triumphs, your bad days. He was the father of my children, so even having him around to share with him some of the things that I'm dealing with the children, that's been the most difficult part. I think the second most difficult part after that is having to manage my household financially by myself. I was not the breadwinner for the most part of my marriage. I was a stay-at-home mom. He was active duty military, so my career was not really really substantial because I had to follow him all around. So I think those are the two biggest parts.
I would imagine that probably would feel the same way. So do you feel bitter? Do you feel bitter about, because those are some of your hardships with your children? So because you feel bad about the financial part, do you feel bitter towards him?
Today I do not. Today I do not feel bitter. Since we're raw, I'm gonna be like Chanel. I'm gonna be real. I am a survivor of domestic violence. So, and through that, I also dealt with infidelity in my marriage. So those were the things that were precedent in my life at the time when I had to make that decision. So those were the things I was bitter about, having to endure those. But I think, and having to transition spiritually with having to face the fact that I had to get this divorce, because I felt like in order for me to strengthen myself spiritually and as a woman and as a mother, I had to put myself first in that circumstance. So now I'm not bitter. It has been definitely a long transition. It's been extremely difficult. I have some amazing testimony that I can say is a testimony today because I've survived through it. That's a little bit more raw than we're going to go today, but today I'm no longer bitter. I'm not. I am encouraging a relationship with my children and their dad, and I am strengthening myself as a woman and as an individual. I'm treating myself to my own dates. I'm treating myself to staycations. I'm doing it up. So exactly. So when it comes time for me to love again, I will be totally ready. Definitely.
Okay. So just another question, and I applaud you for that, Bettina, just for sharing that with us, keeping it real with us, a little bit about the domestic violence. And we're going to be doing a whole segment on domestic violence. But so after being married for 16 years and now only 2 years divorced, are you looking for somebody? Are you ready to plunge back into marriage again? Or how do you feel about, marriage or getting married? Or do you even want to get married again?
When I first got divorced, I announced I would never get married again.
Never say never.
I did. I have friends that said never say never. But today I welcome marriage in my life again. I enjoyed being married. I enjoyed knowing that I had someone that loved and adored me, so I thought, but I hope that I can have that, and knowing that I can share that same emotion with them. I look forward to finding that special person to spend the rest of my life with. I do. I really do. And I'm not saying I'm looking, but I'm open. I'm totally open to the possibility of dating. And I just find that for me, it'll come to me. I feel like when God has positioned that person that's specifically designed for me, he'll walk toward me and we'll know it, and I just feel like it'll be love at first sight, maybe not, but I feel like it'll work. I feel like it'll work at that point, and it may be 5 years from now, it may be tomorrow. So I'm ready to wait if I have to, and I'm ready if it comes tomorrow. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we're going to end on that note, finding that special someone, and we'll be back with our next interview. Bye-bye. All right, we're ready for our next interview. I'm excited to have Celeste. So I want you to tell all the real women and everybody out there your name, your age, your occupation, and your marital status.
My name is Celeste Duckworth, and I'm a publisher of Vertical Magazine. It's an online magazine. I am 45 plus, and I'm single. Soon to be unsingle, but not sure how long.
That's like a whole another type of question. I'm single, but
my aunt says that you're single until you actually have the ring on your finger and married. So
okay, because I was about to scratch all of this right here and say, okay. So what I want to talk to you about is, has there been a tragedy, a bad situation in your life, and you've been a survivor. We want to talk about how to empower with self-esteem through a tragedy. So can you tell us, maybe if you want to share, and reveal yourself about a tragedy and how you were able to push through that?
About 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was all over the top of my head. And so when I got the news, I was kind of like, I don't have a brain tumor. But then when they decided they were going to start doing some testing, 2 days later, I woke up choking. And when I went back to the hospital, they found out that the same growth that was on my brain was on one of my lungs and my trach. So it had grown just a lot on. So there was a lot of little things that happened with that. I started going blind, and I was in college at the time. I had gone back to school to get my bachelor's degree, and I was like, okay, I'm a student. I don't have any money. I don't know what I'm gonna do about this. And so I sat down with a teacher one day, and I said, well, this is what's happening. And it was almost the end of school, and I said, I can't see the board or anything. I'm losing my sight. I have these other things going on. And he didn't even say, well, get out of school or anything like that. He said, what have you done to help yourself? He says, have you called doctors? I said, I don't have no money. He says, I don't care. He says, call every doctor until you get somebody to say yes, they're going to help you. Wow. And and also, I have a great belief in God. And I said, okay, Lord, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is what they say I have, and I'm going to need you to help me get through this. So I never forget, it was right before Christmas. I was in Flagstaff at the time. I called every doctor in Flagstaff, and they all said no. And I was like, okay. It was Christmas time. We decided to come down home, down in Tempe, stay with my relatives. And Monday morning I got up, and my cousin said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to start calling every doctor in Phoenix. Right. But before I touched the phone, the first doctor I called in Flagstaff called me and said, I'll do it for you.
Oh, wow. So they called you back.
They called me back. Okay. In the matter of 1 year, because so much had went on, I ended up having eye surgery on both eyes to correct the blindness. I had a stent put in my heart. This is the extent of everything that was going on. I was put on high doses of steroids for 2 years. And they hadn't even got to testing me on the brain yet, because they wanted me to be able, they said my respiratory system was really, So with my family and my church, and and I just kept saying, every time something would come up, I just kept saying, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I know that God has the last word. So while I was on steroid treatments, very weak, couldn't do anything, was gaining a lot of weight. One morning I woke up and I said, I'm going to get up and walk every day. As long as I can get out the bed, I'm going to walk.
So did something just come over you?
I said, I got to get control. I got to get control. And I said, no longer do I want doctors to be just giving me pills. I want a doctor who'll be a team player. And really, so I started doing research about everything that they said was going on. I started looking at foods to eat. I would get up. I could only walk in front of my apartment. I would walk down to the end of the sidewalk, and I would walk back. And then I would say, if I could walk down to the block, I'll walk back. If I got to crawl back, I'm going to get back home. And I did that until I could walk around the buildings, and then until I could walk a mile. And then I started going to the track at the college and walking around the college, walking around the track. I did that until I could actually do like 5 miles, and then I could go up the steps. I started feeling really good. The medication was like horrible. I had to take off work from the medication. But slowly but surely, I think the physical aspect of getting better physically was really making those side effects get less and less. So finally, I mean, I kept doing that until here I am today, 168 pounds smaller, off of half the medication. I'm probably taking more vitamins than I do medication now. And last year, the doctor told me I was 4 years in remission. Everything on my brain and my brain and lung was gone. And I was 75% chance it's not going to come back. So I would say, you know, I encourage a lot of people when I encourage my family and people, I say, you got to be an advocate for yourself. Okay, because, you know, I believe, like, you know, God says his promise is that he'll heal you, you know, and I believe that when I started learning how other people had overcome, I kept myself happy, positive. If I felt like I was getting down, watch a movie that would make me laugh. I had friends that would come over, and if I couldn't go outside, they said, hey, let's have a picnic in the house, stuff like that. And good support. And I have friends that lived in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
That, you know, I went to Ireland for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't do anything but rest and exercise and ride around and learn the country and just get out the stress. And then I just, you know, really, you know, my thing is that no matter what the report is, you got to learn yourself what your body's like. You got to learn about nutrition. When they tell you something, you have to study it. Learn what it is. Learn what you can do, because there's so much out there now that really doctors really don't know. Okay?
Let me ask you this. Did you go through this by yourself? Did you have a loved one, as far as your maid or your husband, your spouse, fiance? Did you have someone to go through this, or did you go through this all by yourself?
Well, I went through it all by myself because I had met someone that couldn't really deal with it. We were in a relationship for a very short time. But I met someone at the end of this.
Okay.
And
so they didn't go so at the end.
Well,
I
knew he was a client of mine.
Oh, okay.
And you know, the hard thing for women is when you go through something like that. I mean, I lost my hair, I lost, you know, a lot. I had scars, I had other, and so I was kind of not feeling like getting out dating. Right. And this person, the most wonderful thing he ever said, and really helped me get over those things, was because I had to sit down and talk to him about everything, you know. And so he said to me, he said, you know what? He said, I've seen something of like everything you have. I've seen that in some woman I know growing up. And he said, baby, it's just all about life. He said, it's just life. And he said, he said, if you want to go out there and work out or whatever, he said, whatever you can't fix like that, then we'll look at something else. He said, but otherwise, he said, it ain't bothering him. So,
so you never know where you find love, like
exactly.
You never know where you find it.
Exactly, and that was the most precious thing that someone could say to me. And at that time, and that was kind of like the icing on the cake of getting everything done.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Celeste, for that. That was awesome. So inspirational, that I'm sure that if other women are going through something tragic in their life like that, that they could relate to that and know that you found love. Yes. Speaking with someone, explaining what was going on. So awesome for that. Well, thank you for that. We look forward to having you back. Thanks. Talk to you guys soon. All right. Real Women Reveal. We're back. And so we have our next beautiful woman here. So I want to ask you your name, your age, occupation, and marital status.
My name is Charlene Tarver. I am 20-ish.
Wait a minute. I said your age, not...
I'm an attorney, and I'm divorced.
Okay, all right. So what I want to talk with Charlene about is interracial dating. Have you ever dated anyone that was non-black? Charlene, first of all. So let's just ask that. You have?
I did. I dated one Caucasian guy.
Okay. How long ago was that?
About Probably almost 2 years ago.
That's your first?
That was my first and my only experience.
So, that was your first experience, and you said that was about a year? Almost 2 years ago. So, what do you feel when you see an interracial couple? We'll say, what do you feel, seriously, what do you feel inside when you may see a black man with a non-black woman?
You know, I think initially I used to wonder why, especially in Arizona, I would see so many African American men with non-African American women. But I think for me, the bigger issue became, how do I find what fulfills me and what I'm compatible with? And so I don't focus as much on the African American men and what they're doing. I'm really more committed to what makes me happy, what fulfills me, who am I compatible with, who treats me the way I want to be treated. And that's what I care about. So I'm not looking for a Caucasian man, but I'm open. I'm open. And I actually, you asked me if I had ever dated outside my race. I actually went out with an Asian guy about a week or so ago. About 2 weeks ago, I went out with an, that's new. That's new. We went out and we had a great time, and I'm looking for a man to pursue me, so I'm not doing any pursuing. And I think he has some other things that are going on right now, but that's the very first time I've ever gone out with an Asian man.
So on the flip side of that, I asked, did you feel anything if you saw a black man with a non-black female and you expressed your feelings? Do you have those same feelings if you see a black woman with a non-black man?
You know, I think a lot of times African American women will date non-black men because they've gotten to a point where they want to be with someone. So our reasoning is very different from a black man's reasoning. And maybe I'm biased in saying that. I think sometimes brothers date outside the race because they see a white woman as a status symbol. Whereas sisters, when they date outside the race, it's probably because they're looking for a man that can provide for them, and or they're looking for a man that is compatible to them in terms of their educational background, their financial situation, their lifestyle. But I think it's more of a last resort for us than a first resort.
All right, I like that. So what would you say, I'll kind of top this off as the ender, what would you say, male or female, to a person, male or female, if they said, I don't date black men and they're a black woman, or I'm a white man, I don't date white women, or I'm a Mexican man or woman, I don't, they just exclude their own race?
I think that's a problem. If you are targeting someone based upon their race, their skin color, their hair texture, what it says to me is that you either have a lack of self-consciousness or an insecurity. Now, if you say that you're with someone because that's who you love, that's who you've been drawn to, that I can respect. But if you're looking for someone who's a certain physical image or a certain race, it says to me that you really have some insecurities within yourself that you need to deal with. But I encourage all of my sisters to think outside the box. It's not just about dating outside your race, but also dating outside your age group, dating outside of your academic background or outside of your economic group, and looking for someone who can really love you the way you want to be loved.
That's the icing on the cake for that. We got Charlene Tarver, attorney at law. So check her out in Phoenix, and we'll be back with our next interview. All right, we ready, we rolling. So I got my next lady up here, my beautiful lady. So I'm gonna get your name, your age. You can do an ish, like the ish, 30-ish, 20-ish. Occupation and your marital status.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tamika Lamb. I'm a business owner, a small business owner, Savvy Pen. I am 30-ish and single. Well, in a relationship, but not married.
Okay, you better throw that out there, girl. Somebody see this. So what we're going to talk about with Tamika is breadwinner women or wives, or the women that make the most money, bring home the dough. Okay? So would you have a problem in your relationship if you were the breadwinner? If, you know, you were making all the money, is that really okay with you?
Being a breadwinner, I'm okay with that. Most of my relationships, I usually make more than the person that I'm dating. But the way I deal with that is I don't kind of lord it over them. I still make a man feel like a man, whether I'm making more than him. Because if not, then that man has a lot of problems. And that can cause a lot of jealousy, control issues. So I try not to kind of put that in their face that I make more, but when it comes to savings and splitting things, it still becomes equal as far as what we're both putting in the relationship.
Okay. And that's what I was going to say. Would you use it? Because I've heard men say, well, she makes more money and I have to use it as like a dagger. Yeah. You know, would you use it as a dagger? Or would you let him still, like you said, feel that we're making a lot of decisions together, even though you're making the most money? And what would you say, because you can talk on using it as a dagger, but do you think men have an issue, or it kind of makes them feel less of a man if their woman is making more money, or what you went through?
Yeah, if you're making more money than the man and you're holding it over them, it's going to make them feel like less of a man. And even if you aren't holding it over them, they still, because they're men, they want to feel like they're the head of the household, and they're bringing in, they're taking care of you, they're being that provider. It still bothers them, even if you share those responsibilities and you talk about planning and saving and expenses. They still feel like that, so you kind of almost have to. You just have to word things carefully. And make sure that you're really taking the time to talk to them. And if you feel like that, you know, that man kind of ego is starting to come up, kind of just talk to them about it so that it doesn't get in the way. Because that has ruined one of my relationships, that we couldn't even talk about finances. And I just had to say, look, I'm never going to not make more than you. So if this is a problem, we're going to have to end this right now.
So that's almost, you touched on something, that's almost about that person. That's like that alpha female coming out. I know about the alpha female. It's a whole nother couple hours. But what about the best advice that you could give women? Because nowadays, with women going back to school more, and then with women being single and handling households, they're running a lot of things in their households. So a lot of cases, they may make more money. So what's the best advice that you think that you could give women when they are the breadwinner in their households?
Let the man be the man, regardless of how much money you make. Yes, women, we all know that we're the neck and the man is the head, and we turn the head, of course. I know that. But you still have to always make that man feel like a man regardless. So never throw how much money you make in their face, and never make them feel less of a man because you make more than them. That will make a happy relationship for you and your loved one.
On the end note, we're going to ask, so what's one tip or what's one advice you can give us? You said make a man feel like a man. So what can we do to make a man still feel like a man when we bringing in all the dough?
You let him be in charge of a lot of the finances. Let's say household bills, budgets for, you know, whether it be rent or your mortgage, trips. Kind of let them take the lead on some of that. And then also compliment them and when they're doing something really well, or if it's something you want them to do better, just, hey, honey, you know, I really love when you do this. Or I really love when we talk about this. Or I really would like for us to start saving like this. What are some of your ideas? So make them feel like they're coming up with the ideas. Even though you're putting the thoughts into their mind, they're still feeling like, instead of you just saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, you're actually making them feel a part of a team, even though the finances in the end are coming from your end of the relationship.
All right. Well, we're going to end it on that note with the big baller, Tamika, breadwinner. So thanks a lot, Tamika. Appreciate that. Talk to you guys in the All right. We got our next lady over here. So we want to get your name, your age, and if you want to do the ish, 30-ish, 40-ish, but name, age, occupation, and marital status.
All right. Well, my name is Rosalind Williams, and I am single. I'm 41 years old, and I host a radio show called Life Matters Today.
So we're going to have to share the mic. So I'm going to talk to Rosalind, Miss Roz, about interracial dating. First, I will ask, have you ever had an interracial relationship?
I have.
You have?
Yes, I have been in many interracial relationships, and I'm open to dating interracially. However, I do have preferences.
Preferences. All right. So I'm going to ask you, when you see at the mall or wherever, when you see a black man with a non-black woman, does that make you feel any kind of way, or not at all, or just how does it make you feel?
Well, I often, you living in Arizona, especially being on the West Coast, I often see interracial couples. And not that it makes me feel bad, but sometimes I get a feeling as if brothers, black men, have forgotten about black women. And so when I see them and they hold their heads down and not up, or not acknowledge sisters or even myself, then that bothers me. And that happens quite often. So I don't have a problem with interracial dating. I just have a problem if you don't recognize me. You don't recognize me. I look like your mother. I look like your auntie. I look like your sister. I look like your grandmother, and you don't recognize me. I have a problem with that.
Okay. You mentioned, Rosalind, because you live on the West Coast. Do you think interracial dating is accepted more on the West Coast than the East Coast, or do you see it more because you're from the East Coast? You're from Maryland, right? So do you think you see it more on the East Coast or more on the West Coast, or, you know, vice versa?
Well, it's much more prevalent on the West Coast opposed to the East Coast. On the East Coast, it's more segregated. Here, it's more integrated. So here, it's more accepted. If you were to go in some parts of the East Coast, and you would be in an interracial relationship, people would often shun you or look at you strange because it's not acceptable in some parts of the country.
We're talking about the South. We're talking about the deep South.
We're talking about the South, but we're talking about even some parts of the East Coast. Absolutely. So there is definitely a difference in the West Coast and East Coast.
Okay. So since we kind of touched on if you see a black man, so if you see a black woman and she's with a non-black man, does that make you feel any kind of way? Or if it makes you feel something, is it different from seeing that black man with a non-black woman?
Well, you know, and I smile and I laugh because I'm starting to see it more often. And I think that sisters, black women, women that are from minority groups are starting to date outside of their race. And I think it's because a lot of, especially black women, are starting to see their black men brothers dating outside of their races and starting to feel left out and starting to feel like, well, hey, I do want a man, I do want to date, so maybe I should date outside of my race. And so I think that, not that I feel any different when I look at a sister with a black man, or a black man with a white woman, or with someone else outside of their race. But what I do say is that sisters are starting to do something different. They're starting to do a new thing. They're starting to broaden their horizons, and they're starting to say that, hey, I'm not going to wait for a black man. I'm not going to just settle for someone that I don't want because the black man isn't around. They're starting to broaden their horizons and date other ethnic groups. And so I say amen to that, and I say amen to whoever decides to date outside of their race, if that's who you love, and not because you're dating outside of your race because it's a fad. And oftentimes, it's a fad here. It's a trend. I grew up with my uncle who's African American, and he was married to a Caucasian woman. Now, they got married in the 40s or 50s, and they lived in Pennsylvania on the East Coast, so that was really not accepted. And so they were ridiculed and ostracized from their community because of the interracial relationship. But one thing I do know is that they loved each other, and they truly loved each other. And in spite of the ridicule, in spite of them being ostracized, they stayed together. And so that's what I'm used to seeing. So if you find someone you love and it's outside of your race, hey, love who you love. You can't help who you love as long as they treat you right. But I have a problem when people say that I only date a black man, I only date a white woman. You exclude your own. If you meet someone and you fall in love and they're outside of your race and they treat you right, hey, nothing's wrong with that. Because love has no color. Love is endless.
All right, we go in on that. Love has no color. So interracial dating, I think you put a little bit of knowledge on our mind on that one. So we'll have you back in a little bit, Roz, okay? All right. We rolling. I got another beautiful real woman up here. So I'm going to get first. I'm going to get your name, your age. I know you're trying to show those sexy shoes.
I'm just trying to get comfortable here. But yes, I do need to show my sexy teeth. Shout out to teeth.
Okay. So we're going to get your name, your age, your occupation, and your marital status.
Sorry. Tamara Floyd, and my age is, how old am I? 48, about to be 49 at the end of the year, almost. And my occupation is a council aide for Vice Mayor Johnson.
And marital status?
Oh, I am single. Very much so.
Okay.
No, actually, I'm not loving it, but it's okay. Of course, most women don't want to be single. I don't know. I don't prefer to be single, but in the status of what's out there right now, I'm okay.
Okay, well, with all of that, we're going to go to what are some of your, maybe the top 3, 2 or 3. Let's go with 3. What are some of your must-haves? I mean, I'm not just saying way over the top, but what are about 3 of your must-haves that you want a guy that you date to have?
Well, 2 things. He must have his own, because starting off, I'm not sharing. So that means you have to have some ambition, preferably some type of a career. So yeah, you have to have some type of career, some ambitions. You have to believe in God, first of all, because I do pray over my food, I pray over my life, I pray over my family. So I'm not saying you have to go to church every Sunday, but just know that there is a God and there is someone that you can call on. The other thought process is that he has the want to be open, to be loved, and to love me deeply. That's the top 3.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking like must-haves, because I've been hearing a lot like on some of the blogs and from radio personality that are men, that women just don't know what we want. We wouldn't know a good man if he fell in our lap. So that's some of the reason behind this. So you know your must-haves. Would you compromise your must-haves? And I'll ask you that. Would you compromise your must-haves that you just gave me?
The top 3?
What? Your top 3? Would you compromise those?
Maybe. I think I had that. No. No, I mean, some things you may compromise to a certain extent, not totally 100%. Like, you have to be able to know how to fall in love. You have to know how to love. So maybe you might not start off deep in love. So that's a compromise to give them that opportunity to love you, or to find out if they can. So that's already a compromise. The other two, you got to have something going on, at least a little bit, or have that ambition. So you don't have to be at the top of your game already. You just have to be motivated to want to be at the top of your game. So I don't know if that's a compromise or not, but it's that if I don't see it, it's not good for me. Because I'm trying to be at the top of my game. I'm not totally at the top yet. I've been halfway there, and but the thing is that I never stop trying. So you have to be motivated to keep going.
So do you think women do compromise? Well, I know women do. I know women do compromise. But let me ask you this, because this is what I think. Do you think, if I asked every woman in Club Central tonight, what are your must-haves, and they told me, I think some women will compromise that. Do you think loneliness plays into why women will compromise their must-haves? Or if you don't think that's it, what do you think it is?
I don't know about everybody, but loneliness plays a big deal in a lot of women's compromise, because they don't want to be alone. They don't know how to be alone. They don't know how to, some people don't know how to enjoy themselves. I enjoy myself. I enjoy myself with my daughter, with my kids. So you have to learn how to compromise yourself to where you're not in that mode where you just say, I'll just accept anything, and then try to figure it out from there. But I mean, every woman compromises to a certain extent. And sometimes it's not that you're lowering yourself to accept anything. It just may be your choice that you want to go out and play and with this certain person. And it's not that you're compromising what you want, because you still want all those things. It's just the fact that this is something you want to do yourself. And that's not compromising because it's on your terms.
Thank you, Lady T. All right, we're talking about compromise. So I think you talked about what you want to do. We're going to come back to that on a whole nother level too, okay? So we'll be back.